Yesterday, I decided to try something that thousands of people online have been talking about lately. A psychic service that claims it can actually draw the face of your future soulmate. And to be honest, when I first heard about it, I thought it sounded completely ridiculous, because how could someone you never met possibly draw the face of the person you're meant to be with someday? But the more I kept seeing people talk about it online, the more curious I became. So eventually I decided to try it myself, just to see what would happen and whether there was any truth behind it, or if it was just another strange internet trend that people were falling for. Apparently the way it works is pretty simple. The psychic artist asks you a few questions about yourself, like your personality, your energy, and sometimes even the type of relationship you're hoping to have in the future. And based on that information, they claim they can use intuition and spiritual guidance to visualize the person who might be destined to enter your life one day. Which honestly still sounded impossible to me, but at the same time, curiosity is a powerful thing, and I couldn't stop wondering what kind of face would appear on that drawing if I actually went through with it. So I filled out the questions, submitted the requests, and then waited to see what would happen next. Not expecting much at all, because realistically I thought the drawing would probably look like a random person that meant absolutely nothing to me. But the next day something happened that made the whole experience a lot more interesting than I expected. I received an email saying that my soulmate sketch was ready, and at that moment I remember feeling a strange mix of excitement and skepticism, because part of me wanted to believe something unusual might happen, while the other part of me was still convinced it would just be a meaningless drawing. But I opened the file anyway, just to see the results. When the image finally appeared on the screen, I paused for a moment, because the face in the drawing looked surprisingly detailed, much more detailed than I expected, and the strange thing was that the expression on the face looked almost familiar somehow. Not in a way that I could immediately explain, but in a way that made me stare at the drawing longer than I thought I would. At first, I told myself it was probably just coincidence, because our brains are naturally wired to recognize patterns and faces, even when they don't actually mean anything. But the longer I looked at the sketch, the more I started to wonder if there was something about it that reminded me of someone I had seen before, somewhere in my life. Maybe it was the eyes, maybe it was the shape of the smile, or maybe it was just the feeling that the face didn't seem completely random, and that thought alone made the experience feel much more mysterious than I expected when I first decided to try it. Of course, I am not saying that this psychic artist can actually predict the future or reveal who someone's soulmate will be, because that's something nobody can truly prove. But I will say that seeing that drawing made me think about something interesting, which is how many unexpected coincidences happen in life when we least expect them. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you met someone who felt strangely familiar, even though you had never met them before? Or how many times has life placed people in your path at exactly the moment you needed them the most? And maybe that is part of what makes the idea of destiny and soulmate so fascinating to people everywhere, whether you believe in psychic intuition or not. The experience of seeing that drawing definitely made me curious about the possibility that somewhere out there might actually be someone whose path is meant to cross with yours someday in a way you never expected. And honestly, that curiosity alone is probably the reason so many people have been trying these soulmate sketches lately. Because the idea of seeing a face that could potentially represent someone important in your future is something that naturally sparks the imagination. If you're curious about what your soulmate might look like, or if you just want to experience the same strange curiosity I felt when I opened that drawing, I left the same psychic service I tried in the description below, so you can check it out for yourself and see what kind of face appears in your sketch, because who knows, you might look at it and feel that same strange sense of familiarity that made me stare at mine for much longer than I expected.